I enjoy writing a lesson plan and delivering my material to the students. One aspect of teaching that I agonize over almost every semester is assessment. I mean, the assessment of my students' mastery of the material I teach. I give pencil and paper tests, true, false, yes, no, multiple choice tests, open-ended questions, informal tests. But sometimes I feel that they do not give me a complete picture of my students' knowledge or mastery of the material I have taught. So to fill in the gap, assigning a journal, I think, helps. It helps a lot. So what does it help with? That's the question. So I'm going to share what I do with the journal and how I do it. I will give the context, briefly touch on the benefits to using the journal, the task that I give students, the theoretical grounding to what I say, the feedback that I get or give students. And finally, I want to give you a little exercise for you to do, to see, to have a feel about what I do. I think some of you do it as well. So I'm going to start with the context of what I'm doing, the context. So as you know, you may know, Community College of Philadelphia teaches linked classes in reading and writing. So reading classes and writing classes for ESL are usually linked. So the beginning levels will be linked together, the intermediate level the same, and the advanced level the same. So reading, every semester I teach at least one advanced reading, writing class. But I'm here to talk about the reading portion of the class, the reading portion of the class. What does the college say about the reading portion? What are the outcomes, the learning outcomes? So the reading part of the class is English 099. I'm talking about ESL. And it is called the Fundamentals of Reading for Non-Native Speakers. The college says that at the end of the course, students will do these things: answer comprehension questions, write a coherent summary, paraphrase ideas in reading texts without altering meaning, annotate a given text to summarize main ideas. You see, that's the end result. Discern word meaning via dictionary use, and demonstrate the ability to use vocabulary from the readings. So these are the things that the college say we have to do. All the tests that I mentioned earlier I use them to assess my students' mastery of the material. The student use of language in those tests, as they respond to questions in the test, give me insight into their skills, but their responses may be a little mechanical at best. I'm interested in a meaningful or productive use of language. So this can be observed when they pay more attention to meaning than to language forms. So what are the benefits to using the journal? Some of the benefits are things that you probably are aware of. I try to observe a degree of meaningfulness. As tests give me mechanical responses, if they say true or false, that's mechanical. I want them to be able to do something meaningful with the language, so I can observe that in the journal. As students read on their own, they have time, they are under stress, they are under less stress than usual, consistent with Steve Krashen's affective filter hypothesis, so which says that the lower the affective filter, the more favorable the language acquisition. In other words, when students are on the defensive, they're pressed with time, they're under stress, they don't learn well, they don't acquire the language easily. The second benefit is I'll be able to observe the reading process itself, the stages, what happens at different stages for individual learners, what challenges they face and what gains they make, what they have made for that matter. This gives me the opportunity to provide some feedback, kind of help that they get if they stumble, give them some scaffolding. And if they do well, I encourage them. This is while they write their journal at different stages. Next, I'll be able to document their progress or lack of progress. So the progress, I may see if they're doing well or they're not doing well. I can see it. I give individual students opportunities to actually read. So they want to have time to read. I give them the time to read. And they practice now, beginning with E, they practice the different kinds of things discussed in class. This has to do with the benefit for the students. Students practice the different kinds of things. Earlier, I was talking about the things that I take advantage of. I document the progress they make at the end of the semester. But they also practice the different kinds of things that we discuss in class at their own pace. And they actually read, not once or twice, but many times. And as a result, create a habit. This is, in response to a concern that some of the students have that sometimes when they take a class in reading, they don't read. It is probably the professor who reads, or they read together. They don't have the time to read on their own. And they can also document their own progress or lack thereof. Probably the most important point is the last one. They write in their own voice. So whatever they do in the journal is written in their own voice. I usually use the word style when I talk to them, but you write in your own style. But style would be difficult to explain if you are not a linguist. Sometimes they ask you what a style is, but using voice would also help. So students write in their own voice. They know a journal is written in my own voice. I'm not you, the professor. I want to write the way I write. So these are the benefits to using a journal. So once they know that they have to write a journal, they have to keep a journal, a reading journal, I ask them to write 4 texts, to read 4 texts every week. 4 texts. This is for a 15-week session or a 7-week session. Now in the summer, we have 7-week sessions. Even within the 7-week sessions, I have them read 4 texts weekly, and they write an entry on each. Now, what is interesting is that each of the entries that they write includes the following. I mean, a lot of things. And one of the things that I pay attention to the most is the summary of the text. So I want them to read a text, and after reading a text, write the summary. Of course, there may be other things that I want them to include in the journal, but a summary is very prominent among those things. Now, I haven't spoken about the summary. I just don't give them. The first week they get this exercise, first class. So you know that this is the first week. They have 4 things to read, and the following week they have to turn it in. So I define what a summary is for the students. I may assume that they come from lower level classes and know what a summary is, but many do not. Some talk about a summary as being that little story that we write. So we discuss its parts, how to get to a summary. Now, these are adult students. I do it. I have to discuss what a summary is and what the parts are, because adults, it has been proven, usually want to know why they are doing certain things. You can get them to do things, but tell them the reason first. So we have the summary, we break it down into parts, and I explain what the parts are. And it is this summary that holds the key to understanding a lot about the reading skills and the process of acquiring those skills. So what is it that it holds? So if you look at a summary, the summary contains a lot of things. Let's see. So if you look at the things that it has, a summary is a skill. It is also a process by itself. It is a strategy. It is a process. It is. I mean, when you summarize, the summary writing process has its own things. If it is a skill, I would call it is a super skill with a subset of skills under it, a subset of skills. What is that subset of skills made of? These are the skills that I identified. So in order to write a summary, students should know, or will be able to, will identify the author. They have to know who wrote the text, the topic, the main idea of the text. They have to understand the sentence structure. I mean, we may not think that that's part of a reading skills, but it is. Understanding the sentence structure. Know how to paraphrase. Understand the information structure. And I think how do speakers or writers structure the text here? Or how do they give information? Is it topic, comment, things like that? If you understand things like that, or main ideas, details, text structure. If it is a text, it might have the introduction, the body, the conclusion. Understand relationship among ideas. How do they relate? How do ideas in a text relate? They may show cause effect. There are different kinds of relationship in a text. And what kind of transitions? All these things could be skills, but I call them, this is a subset of skills that are needed for students to write a summary. So because my students, my advanced students come from, have taken at least one other ESL course, I assume that they bring to class all these skills. If not, I have to build them. I have to get them to build all these skills. Understanding vocabulary, understanding rhetorical modes, understanding facts. What is a fact? Reading fast is also something that they have to bring. Information processing. How do you process information? Where do you store it? Is this just to be memorized and forgotten, or you'll have to remember it long term? So where is that kept? So these are the things that, in essence, make up the summary, the sub-skills that make up the summary. But usually, if you look at the outcomes that are prescribed by the college, sometimes you don't see them there, but you've got to build them. Okay. So I can't wait until the end of the semester to assess where my students are in the process, in the reading process. I get to observe them longitudinally. I have to see what is going on at different steps. That's very important. See what is going on at different steps. And at times, provide some feedback and help to ensure some sort of scaffolding. If they acquire a skill, the hope is that they will use that skill productively. So when I give them feedback, after they write their summary, they do it at home, they write. And when they bring it, I have to give feedback. What kind of feedback do I give? Usually I look for the skills above, the skills that I talked about earlier, the sub-skills, look at them. And I have benchmarks. I might say the first week that students turn in their summaries, the journal entries, I'm going to look at the minimal, I call these minimal rubrics because this is the beginning, this is the initial time I give them feedback. So I might say, okay, the first week you turn in your entries, I'm going to look at, I don't tell them this, but this is what I do, what I look for. The author, do they have the author in the summary? Do they have a title? Do they have a main idea? Do they have supporting details? Are the texts connected? Do they use connectors? Is the summary written in their own voice, or do they simply copy from the original? Now, is the summary shorter than the original? This is very challenging because some students tell me text is already short, written by somebody who knows. How short do you want me to get it? So it has to be shorter than the original. Usually I determine the number of pages they have to turn in. I might say the summary should be no longer than 2 pages. Now, when they get the assignment, 4 texts usually range between 15 to 20 pages. So they have 15 to 20 pages every week to read. And the summary must be self-contained. In other words, it can stand by itself and make sense. So I want to make sure that if I didn't read the text and I looked at the summary, it would make sense to me. I wouldn't have to go to the original to read to understand what the text is saying. So these are the things that I look for the first set of comments that I make on their journal entries. So looking at this, it looks like I'm looking at the performance, how they perform. So I do some kind of performance assessment rather than wait until the end of the semester to provide the feedback. So stepping back a little bit, I think I didn't mention that some of these things that I do actually are steeped in behavioral information about behaviorism or habit formation, or the audiolingual method, where you force students to create certain habits, the habit of reading, for example, hoping that the more often they do it, the better they would become, the more they will learn. Schema theory, the idea that our thought is organized in categories, the categories of knowledge. And when you learn something new, if there's no information, whatever schemata you have to be activated to absorb the new information. So I create conditions for students to activate what they already know about the world, what they already know about the language, what they already know about language use, and to create, or if they don't know anything about those things, I get them to create a base, I help them to create a base of knowledge from which they can learn from scratch. So moving forward, what are the weaknesses of what I do? Writing a journal and keeping a journal is great. Writing summaries is good. But writing makes it difficult to be selective in processing information. So students may understand the text, but they may not be able to tell me what the text is saying in writing, let alone if I ask them orally, they may not say it. We may talk about it in class, as we probably did the first day. After we defined the summary, we probably tried one model. They may tell me this or that, picking on what other students have contributed to the summary. But now on their own, it may be hard to know what exactly to put in. Or there may be competing information. They know so much that they don't know what to include, what is important and what is not important. That could be over. And writing 4 entries each week, for many students is overwhelming. So they know, since they know the first week of classes that they'll have to be reading at least 15 pages, they are prepared. But once they start, some would probably ask me for an extension to turn in something, or I'm short 1 entry, can I turn it in next week? So instead of turning in 4, can I turn in 5? Okay. So this is part of what is a weakness for this kind of exercise. Let me close by saying that there are many tests that have proven effective in assessing reading skills. Now, I've made the case for the use of summaries as just another tool to that end. Instead of assigning students occasional summaries, say every 2 weeks or what have you, I have suggested that some summary writing be done in the context of a weekly reading journal. That will give students the teacher the opportunity to follow the reading process and provide help whenever necessary. And it will also allow individual students to actually read, not pretend to read, but read, practice, and document their progress. So I'm going to give you an exercise, if you don't mind. I think for a Friday evening, that's not a good idea, but we can do it in groups of 5 or 6. So that's just an example of summaries that students write. And I'm going to ask you to look at the rubrics. So this is, I think I have it here. So look at the rubrics that I put at the top there: author, title, main idea, the support that students give. So this comes from a text. So here I have 3 students who turned in their summaries on that particular, on the first text.
Excuse me, are you showing us something? I don't see it.
Yes? You don't see?
No, I don't see it.
Okay, let's see. What did I do here? Did I do anything?
Kalala, maybe
How about
you
this
have
one?
a green button which says share screen.
Okay. So while I was talking, you didn't see anything, I guess.
No, we didn't.
Oh my goodness.
Were you showing us something? Oh, that would have been nice.
So let's see. Sorry about that. Share the screen. Yes. Let's see. Okay. Does it show now?
No.
No. That's your
No?
name.
I think you have to adjust it from your end. Does it tell me? Mute website notification one. Sharing, let's see. So you have to do it from your end because you're controlling the screen, I guess. You have no control over the screen here.
Are you not seeing a share screen option, Kalala?
I see it, I click it, but it doesn't show anything.
You'd have to click the blue part and then
Can you
click
try
the word
doing
share.
it? Kalala, can you try doing it now?
You have to
Yeah.
click the part that says screen, and then you have to click the word that says share.
So
Mine
from my
doesn't.
end, I have multiple participants who can share the
Yeah,
screen.
I can share if I want to.
For mine, there is nothing. Let's see.
Miriam,
There's
can you
only
try
share.
sharing your screen for a sec?
I hope
Could you
there's
say
nothing.
that again? Okay.
Yeah.
You see? That's
thanks,
it.
Miriam.
Right there.
So Kalala, you have to click share screen, and then you'll see a blue screen. You could click on that, and then you have to click the word share. It's blue.
Ah, it is blue. I see the green share the screen.
First you click the share screen, and then you got a pop-up window.
There's no window opening. Okay, so window, select window screen, entire screen. Virtual.
Yes, you are at the right place, Kalala.
So is that it?
On the bottom right, there's a little blue button that says share.
It says share, no, it says entire screen block. No. Wow.
I can share your video, Kalala. Just to double check. Say this. I'm sharing my screen.
Okay.
I stop sharing it.
Okay.
So
So if you click on share screen, the green share screen button that's next to the mute
Yeah,
and
that's what
stop
I'm
video,
clicking.
you click it
Your
and nothing pops up.
It tells me my browser prevents me from this.
okay,
Is it?
Kalala, one thing is possible. What happens at times, the document that you want to share, you've got to open that document first. So
It is
don't
open.
press any screen share. Just open the document, the one that you want to share.
Let's see.
Okay,
Is
open that file that you want to share and then do this process, share a screen.
okay, I think the document is open.
Okay, now if you go on share a screen at the bottom and you click it, the option will pop up, the open documents option will pop up, and there you will click on that one. And then hit again share screen.
Okay, so I see here it's telling me my browser is preventing me from. Okay,
Browser.
why is that?
I'm sorry. You can
Okay.
probably email the document to somebody, share it that way.
Share it how?
Erika, can you say again?
I am saying that he can probably email the document to someone, and then
Okay.
that one can share it.
That's a good idea. Kalala,
Yes, I'm going to
if you
email
can,
it.
if you can email me.
Okay, let's try that.
Okay.
So,
Are you sending me to my college?
yes, you want it to your college, I guess.
Okay.
Okay. That's back. Okay. One second. Okay. So Mac. Okay. So I am sending it. So attach. Okay. Ooh. Okay.
Have you sent it?
Just hang on.
Okay.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
I'm got it?
Yes.
Okay, try to open it if it opens.
Kalala?
Yes, you have it there.
Right. Where do you want me to go here?
So go all the way to the end, the last three. Okay, the last three there. That one. This is the one that I wanted discussed in groups, in small groups. So small groups of 5 would do. And that one as well. That one could be done by the same group, but after doing the first 3, and we could get back together to discuss them.
So you want us to read this?
Yes. So if you have 5 people reading that, you have, it is, all 3 are about the same texts, but different students wrote them. So what
Okay.
you are going to look for would be the things at the top. The rubrics are there. Look for the author, the title. If the author is there, just put yes plus. So that's the binary notation I was talking about. If it isn't there, minus. So in the end, you would probably have X number of pluses and X number of minuses. Is that
Excuse me.
feasible?
What do you mean by tags?
Or the tags would be, the connectors, the signal phrases. You call them
Okay.
signal phrases, I guess.
Thank you.
So instead of simply saying things, you might say, according to what John
Right.
said.
Thank you.
The tags would also, T there would include the title, A, author, G, genre.
Kalala, can you make it a lot larger so we can all see?
Leslie, I'm in control.
Oh,
And
right.
the largest I can go is this.
If
Okay.
you click on
If I blow
share,
it larger, then it's going to be like this.
Mark,
Yes.
if you click on share, it will be bigger because you won't have to see that stuff on the left. The top right-hand corner, it says share and comments. Oh, no, sorry. No, that's not right.
And if you go to the slide.
I'm already sharing it.
Right. My
My
bad. Right. You have to click on this.
The slideshow. Then you won't see. Oopsie.
So are we doing this in breakout room or like right now?
Yes, this was supposed to be done in breakout rooms. But we can also do it together because we have wasted our time. I have wasted your time not sharing the screen. So we can do it together. Look at the text and tell me if you have the things that are listed at the top there, the rubrics that are listed at the top.
Yeah. Kalala, can I make a suggestion here? In the breakout room, there's going to be a problem for sharing because then I'll have to send it to your PowerPoint to people in the breakout room. I would suggest that if you don't mind, at this point in time, can we do as a whole group?
That's what I
rather
was
than doing
thinking
it in
about.
breakout rooms?
In the interest of time, we could simply do it as a whole, as a group.
Okay.
And since everyone has the text before them, it's much easier to look at the first one and say if it stands by itself, if it is self-contained.
Kalala,
Yes.
Appendix 1, I do see some element of text. The student here, or the writer here, is making sequences, and he's talking about the first stage and the second stage and the third stage. Looks like that the student writer is familiar with sequencing and the language used in it. However, and the student does write the title also, the author and the title. And some elements of text are there, like, use of pronoun, which help the text, connect together. Like they found themselves in situation when they really do not know how to act. So I see some cohesion in the text that this author, and some sequencing is also there. As far as the voice, I think you didn't ask for the voice in this one, Appendix 1. You asked for self-contained. To some extent, I would say yes, but not a completely self-contained text, Appendix 1. That's what I see.
That's an interesting observation. Anyone else want to say something about the first, about Appendix 1? You're still squinting to read?
Kalala, can I say
Says,
something on Appendix 2?
Okay, no, go ahead.
Okay, let's.
Yes, somebody else want to say something.
Yes, no, I was just gonna add that after squinting my eyes, I was able to come up with a few things here. I think that I can see that the in Appendix 1, the student talks here about, I think they try to provide like a kind of summary of the text, yes, by referring to the author's, I think 4 stages of what an individual goes through. So that could be probably considered as part of the summary of the text.
Right. So the criteria in the rubrics are somehow respected there. So
Yeah.
Appendix 1, the first student did it. What about Appendix 2? Would somebody, Leslie, want to say something about Appendix 1?
Kalala?
Yes.
Appendix 2, it looks like the writer has probably better language proficiency in terms of grammatical accuracy, but the writer is unaware of the demands of summary genre.
Very good. Just stick to the criteria, the rubrics at the top.
Right. And so things are missing, and I was a little confused reading the second one. the author, the title, and it's not the summary genre at all, and things are missing. Although it looks like that the student has better ability to express himself or herself, but not a very self-contained, structurally organized piece, summary.
Anybody else has a comment on one or two, for that matter?
I do agree that I think with this, with Appendix 2, the student seems to have better ability to express themselves. However, I think like Khan mentioned, they seem to be missing a lot of elements from the text. There are a lot of gaps.
Okay. How about the third one? That one is the shortest.
I can comment on the third one. It looks like the third one didn't understand maybe the assignment itself.
Okay.
Maybe like, lack of vocabulary word, or he didn't really understand the rubric.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
can you speak up a little, please?
Oh, am I on mute or?
Dr. Kadima,
No, it's just
we want
the
to listen to
volume.
you.
Okay. So my conclusion is that the third one doesn't seem to have grasped the assignment. So he's defining the culture shock, but really he didn't put on all the elements requested in the assignment. Either he didn't understand what was asked of him or the expectation of the instructor, because what he did is just defining what a culture shock is. How about the other element?
Yeah, I completely agree with Dr. Kadima's observation. Absolutely, yes.
I also echo, what was just shared in terms of the definition. But I also think that if you look at that particular definition, if you look at it carefully, it almost looks like a dictionary definition of culture shock and not necessarily their words. So that's a little suspect to me. I don't know what the rest of you think.
So right, Brenda. Yeah.
That's a good point there. He might have just copied the definition and then copy and paste. That's easy to do. And to think much about, what are the requirements of the assessment.
That's interesting. Now, if I had given you the text, the original text, some of you probably have read it, the original text, you would find that probably the third one, the definition was made up. Maybe it was copied from the internet, or the person simply made it up. But then I don't go with that. I go with the rubrics that I have given. Do you have the tags there? The title, author, you have the main idea, you have the supporting points. So this is the first week, the second week. So after they turn in the entries, the first time, this is the first batch of entries that I have turned in. And now from here, I can see where to go. I know is who's missing what. So I talk about it in class with everybody for before the next batch of entries is turned in. Now, 4 is actually the same. I mean, it's 4 and 5 would be about another text. This is in the middle of the semester. 4 and 5 in the middle of the semester.
Okay, Kalala, unfortunately, the time is up.
Yes.
We wanted to thank you very much for this presentation. I don't know if we have one more minute to ask Miriam's question.
Yes, you could ask the question. I will be able to answer.
Okay, she mentions here, do you ever have them use other types of critical thinking? What would you do if you were that character? What would his mother have done if she had found out? Make the dialogue that isn't included in the book between the character and the police officer and stuff like that.
Yes, I mean, this is what I said earlier. I said, I mean, you have the whole set of slides there. In one of the slides, I said that I give different kinds of tests. So we do different kinds of inquiry before they get to a summary. The summary is supposed to be done by themselves on a text. So using the information that I get or the kind of questioning, the line of questioning I use in the class, they can write a summary. So I ask those questions questions that for them to relate to the text in one way or another. But that's for a different part of the class, not the summary. And that should not be included in the summary. If it is an extrapolation to the student's life, it should not be included in the summary. But I do ask all those questions. We work on the text.
Can I ask a quick question? Is it possible or no?
Yes, I'm waiting for the question.
No, I have to get Leslie's permission because it's 6 o'clock.
Oh, we have to end?
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll ask you later at some other forum, Kalala.
Okay.
No problem. Thank you very much for coming. I think it has been a pleasure sharing with you. And if you have any other questions, just email me the questions. I should be able to answer.
Thank you,
Right.
Kalala. It was
Thank you
wonderful.
very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.